Another example that's sort of similar to that for sure is Ross Cawthon, the way he stuck with that Rapid Strike Malamar, and which is one of the only players that was really piloting it to the highest levels.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like we have our players ready and are able to get down to our match area, and we're going to have a doozy of a match here. It is going to be Andrew Estrada on your left versus Mike Fouchet on the right. Two players that have been playing this game for a very long time. Andrew, a former world champion, and a ton of other accolades to go along with that.
Yeah, he really had a strong showing at Worlds. It's no surprise that he's here once again trying to put his best foot forward for the new season. Mike Fouchet, both these players 4-0. This is what I want to see. I want to see the best of the best of the field currently rising to the top, and we're going to see what these players decided to bring. Are you going with your tried and true deck that you grinded with, that you brought to Worlds, that you're really practice on, or you're going to try to bring a specific meta call and try to get that counter, maybe even jump ship, right? Play that Arceus Flying Pikachu.
Well, usually when you top cut Worlds, you're going to probably stick with the same thing if it's in the same format, and Andrew decided just that with his Origin form Palkia V-Star with that Inteleon engine. Meanwhile, Mike, on the other hand, is going to be playing that Radiant Charizard Inteleon box that we saw Ross play at Worlds, doing very well with it, and it's one of those surprise decks that are like, oh yeah, this is a pretty easy way to play this list.
The Radiant Charizard was the up-and-comer for sure for Worlds. It was not as proven. I remember when Origin Form Palkia burst onto the metagame, it wasn't quote-unquote proven as a strong deck, but on paper, a lot of players immediately saw that potential and did well with it. And Radiant Charizard, being a single prize deck, doesn't have as much of an apparent power level, and now that Worlds has passed and it actually got a very deep run amongst the best players on the entire planet, I think that players are certainly going to be a lot more confident bringing these Radiant Charizard-based builds.
Yeah, no better way to test for Baltimore Regionals than to play in the World Championships. Am I right? Am I right?
That exactly. Worlds was only preparation for this new season. Just put everything else that happened last season behind you. Start fresh. It's like waking up on New Year's Day. Players are ready to just jump in with a clean slate. And hopefully the players can also mentally have that clean slate, right? You don't want to think about, oh, you know, I made this big mistake at Worlds, or I didn't play as well as I did last season. Let go of those regrets, embrace that competitor spirit, and bring us into this game with the prizes being set up. Origin Form Palkia V-Star and Battle VIP Pass in the prizes, not too bad. However, Mike missing out on that Magma Basin is going to be a little dicey. You'll draw into it eventually by the time you get that Radiant Charizard, hopefully.
Yeah, it does play 3 copies of it, so not too bad. The way Mike's deck is built is it's going to be very slow to get out of the gates. You are not going to be attacking for the first few turns. You're just going to set up, have your opponent take a couple prizes, and from there, try to get things going. But it looks like players are ready and starting. Andrew is starting off the game here for our round 5. And starts it off with the Capacious Bucket.
Capacious Bucket with Radiant Greninja in the active, getting that fuel for the Concealed Cards ability. Going to get some draw, going to get set up, and hopefully with the draws on this Radiant Greninja, we can find that Battle VIP Pass, and then this first turn's really going to open up. The Irida also being added to the hand, and a Battle VIP Pass in hand. It looks like, honestly, with just those cards, the entire turn 1 setup for Andrew is already complete.
Yeah, well, you have the Irida for next turn, so that means Drizzile is automatically in your hand. So you're going to get that Sobble with that Battle VIP Pass, get that Origin Form Palkia V on the bench, and from there, you're really just sitting pretty.
Mike Fouchet, meanwhile, with Sobble in the active. As you said, going to have a much slower start. This is where things do get dangerous. You're giving Andrew plenty of time to not only have an explosive setup, but if, as we've seen from time to time with Origin Form Palkia, if they do brick a little bit, they have a bit of a slower time out of the gate, Mike Fouchet can't really capitalize on that. You're relying on your single prize Pokemon to help you control the pace and flow of the game.
One of the big cards for the matchup is going to be that Manaphy with its ability to stop that bench damage on your field, and that's really just going to shut off that Radiant Greninja with that Wave Veil.
the Radiant Greninja with the Star Portal is always the biggest threat versus the single prize decks. You want to control the pacing of your opponent's prize mapping. You want them to be only taking one prize per turn, but having that Moonlit Shuriken, maybe knock out a couple Sobbles, means that your opponent's going to jump out ahead, mess with your calculations, throw your plans askew, and it can be very detrimental. We'll see how Mike Fouchet responds, has the Irida as an opener, going to get the rest of the setup here alongside these two Sobbles. Just a little bit more, and the Manaphy, thankfully, is found.
Yeah, being able to just grab that right away with the Irida. You can also grab something like the Energy Search. There's 3 copies of that card in Mike's deck, and you're only playing 5 energy. So it's really just because you need that fire right when you need it, you need that water right when you need it, and being able to grab it with a card like Irida is pretty beneficial.
Once your opponent's taken a lot of prize cards, you get the Excited Heart ability for Radiant Charizard. Its attack cost gets discounted, so then for just 1 fire energy, you're dealing that explosive 250 damage. And once this deck kind of gets up and running, you're able to just cycle this Charizard over and over again with like your rods, etc. And that is going to be the idea behind this list. We also know with the rare candy, we have the threat of the Inteleon with the Aqua Bullet to maybe take a couple extra prizes as well.
And there we see the Manaphy is found. Maybe the Energy Search, we don't know. Okay, there we go. The fire to the active.
It always looks so weird to see Sobble with the fire energy on it, but of course Mike Fouchet just going to go set up that keep calling if need be. Snorlax also being put into play, the Gormandize ability.
Yeah, and you actually, this is a pretty decisive play where you have the options to just level ball for the other Sobble and stuff, but no, those level balls get Drizzile. So might as well keep those in your hand. You can keep calling. You can try to Gormandize up to 7, but the hand's already pretty big for Mike here.
Once you get the fire energy onto an active Pokemon, you're looking to get that into the discard pile, of course. Just retreat this Sobble. You don't mind if it gets knocked out. You've got a couple others on the bench that are ready to go, and it's just after that initial setup, looks to be a pass coming up. Yep, and we're over to Andrew.
Andrew's really going to have to try to find a cross-switcher play here, maybe Boss's Orders, but just want to take out that Manaphy just so you can turn on your Greninja for later on in the game, but starting things off with a Irida.
Irida, yep, just going to find the Capacious Bucket, wants to get more of the water energy out of the deck into the hand, put them into the discard pile to set up for that Star Portal. I think, again, luckily, because Mike's list is a little bit slower to get online, Andrew can take his time, getting this Moonlit Shuriken play truly set up. Just draw a bunch of cards, get everything nice and pretty. Once you've got 2, Origin Form Palkia V-Star set up, it just becomes a constant stream of attacks that are just going to end the game. So, yep, the Palkia V-Star is found, and the Capacious Bucket is the second card off of the Irida. And this is just going to immediately translate into 2 water energy. Might be going back in. Didn't know if there was going to be a Drizzile first for some reason, but there it is. 1 water energy, 2nd water energy. Drawing cards with the, of course, the concealed cards, putting these in discard. The way that this engine works is honestly just so beautiful, and it is what is forcing so many other decks to adapt to keep up with this potential speed. We talk a lot about the Palkia V-Star and how you want to limit your bench and try to lower that damage, but the side effect of being able to very consistently use Moonlit Shuriken as a spread damage threat and take out these Sobbles before they can evolve into Drizzile and get your opponent off of the ground is also one of the ways that this deck can really get a lot of free wins sometimes.
Yeah, definitely one of the hardest decks in the format to play too, just because a lot of the format is all about sequencing. This deck is sequencing to the max. You need to figure out where you're going to put your energies for like 3 turns in advance, and if you mess up, there's no coming back from that.
Once the energies are attached, then we've seen players have to do really awkward plays, right? Of, okay, I have have to scoop up net to promote this so I can retreat it to put those in the discard pile. It becomes very messy when you have to use your precious resources to correct mistakes, correct those gameplay errors. But Andrew Estrada, as we know, is not going to be making any errors, is already focused in on exactly what he wants to set up. As you said, Jeremy, is just slowly building up the combination turn to bring up this mana fee and then get some knockouts, hopefully with the Moonlit Shuriken. The Wave Veil protecting the bench is going to be very, very terrifying.
Deciding to take out that Snorlax here with Subspace Swell instead of that mana fee gets rid of just the extra draw that Mike would have throughout the game, and now goes down to 5 prizes. And that means Radiant Greninja is not really going to show up too early this game, but it still could be a threat later on. But 2 cross switchers down.
I think that we can see Andrew has a very fine read on how much time, how many turns he truly has to basically just have his way with this game. You don't need to be cautious. You're just going to take some knockouts, get your prize cards, just work towards having an indomitable board setup. Once the Radiant Charizard comes down, it's only one Pokemon. If you have 2 or 3 attackers all ready to go to just revenge KO, it's not going to be a big issue for you.
Drizzile does come down for Mike, though, so we'll be able to find something like that Irida pulled to the front. We'll be able to grab an item and, you know, another Drizzile.
Yeah, just
shady dealings, but extra.
Just the thinning of the deck. It all works together to make it so that when you're drawing your cards, they are exactly what you want. Either you get the resources you need when you need them, or you pull them out prematurely, and it just makes the rest of your natural top decks a lot better. It all plays into, as you said, that sequencing. It's not just about doing your turns correctly, but by being efficient in your early turns, it just makes your later turns naturally better.
We could also see something like Rare Candy and Teleon, maybe?
There is the 1 energy still attached to the Sobble. It could be a nice surprise play here.
I'll go back in.
Does opt for the Hisuian Heavy Ball and Drizzile instead, though, so
we're going to take a look here, see what Mike is trying to get out of the prizes. Taking some notes as well. Again, the players are always prepared to have an idea of what is where. The Hisuian Heavy Ball, we've seen some decks or even some board states where it gets recycled over and over again. It ends up being the card that you take off of your prizes, and so your prize cards just become a second hand almost. Just finds a Sobble, however, so all the Sobbles now in rotation. These Sobbles have to do a lot of heavy lifting to find the key cards missing from these combinations for Mike. With the Snorlax going down, having no access to that Gormandize, when you are trying to get your board set up complete and you know that your opponent doesn't really have a way to punish you for playing slowly, the Gormandize just, okay, I'm going to draw cards. I'm going to draw some cards. It doesn't matter if I'm just ending my turn, not dealing any damage.
All right, y'all, so it's our first stream game here this weekend so far. I've been a little slow, but 3 energy in the prizes for Mike. He only plays 5. And there's 3 basic. That fire energy was the only basic energy in Mike's deck last turn.
And so with this fire energy now stranded on the Sobble, it is going to be a little bit of a leap to get that onto the Charizard. Because this list isn't meant to take prize cards early, the ones that end up in your prizes are all locked away. Now that Mike has a proper idea of what's in the deck, what is prized, you can already see the gears turning, and he's thinking about how do I shift my game plan around these key cards being unavailable.
No, that just means that this Inteleon will never be able to attack. Mike's not going to be able to attack until Andrew's taken 3 prizes now. And yeah, there's just a pass of the turn. Nothing you can do with those prizes that Mike has this game. And Andrew is in a dominant position here and really just hasn't really done much. Just the usual Palkia things. Take a knock.
Having to just march themselves up to the active spot to just get knocked out. And Mike has to somehow rely on Radiant Charizard to carry this game back. But if Andrew, maybe only keeps 2 Origin Form Palkia V-Star, that's only, 4 easy prizes available, and then we have the stalling potential of just sending up those single prize Pokemon if need be, the Moonlit Shuriken to maybe grab 1 or 2 of the remaining prizes to scoop the game out from Mike before Radiant Charizard can truly come through at the end.
Eyes down that Inteleon with shady dealings, being able to out his board a little bit here.
And at this point, like, what are you even missing? I feel like Andrew's board is pretty much all set up. You just put a couple more energy on your second Palkia, and then you just start swinging for the fences.
Yeah, let's just get a couple more Sobble, maybe. That's all you can really hope for. Eyeing down the Marnie could be good to disrupt Mike's hand a little bit. The deck as his just really builds up the resources in hand and then eventually just plays everything down.
By taking away the Snorlax, forcing Mike to rely on the Drizziles to search out those key cards to play towards the future turns, you are forcing your opponent into a line that is very, very susceptible to getting Marnie punished. So I do love this line already. Andrew just kind of has this game in the palm of his hand. Even if Mike didn't have those energies prized, the Aqua Bullet can only do so much when, you know, you've got a few Sobbles and Drizziles just kind of waiting in the wings.
I think I'm going back in. I'm not sure.
So scoop up net. Marnie was the grab for Andrew here. Looks like he is going back in. No, not going back in.
All right, so there is the shuffle. The rest of the play looks to be locked in. Could see that scoop up net, maybe on the Inteleon to reset that for a future turn. Maybe trying to go for a double concealed cards. Seems like a fine idea, but as always, that Marnie is most likely going to be the supporter for the turn. And once your board is set up like this in such a strong position, you aren't worried about Roxanne or a counter Marnie from Mike even disrupting your plans. Like, this train is building up a lot of momentum for Andrew, and Mike is just waiting for the impact on his side of the table.
Mike's just along for the ride until Andrew takes 3 prizes. It's really just how this game is going to have to go, and he's not out of it just yet.
Ultra Ball for the Galarian Zigzagoon, already trying to set up some additional plays around that Moonlit Shuriken. Having that extra ping of 10 damage is, you know, that 4th option to boost the Palkia damage if you absolutely need it.
Yeah, thankfully, no really big Pokemon V in Mike's deck to really have to get over. Discards both of those for the extra Sobble here. And I'm pretty sure we're going to see the Marnie just reset the hands for both players here and get the attack off. Energy attachment is very good to the bench one. You want to keep those coming as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Andrew has had all the time in the world to get this beautiful, incredibly solid foundation. This is, after several turns of play, this is the optimal, like, board state that you want for your Palkia deck. And now Mike has to, you know, respond to this. When you're playing a deck like this that's built to fall behind and then come back, you have to be able to anticipate your opponent attacking you with full strength. Their deck is running at you at full tilt, and now with Sobble going down, at the very least we've got a Fire Energy in the discard pile to maybe make use of later. But Drizzile has to be promoted here, and the hand is not looking too fresh for Mike. I am surprised, though. After a Marnie, I thought that it could be very detrimental, but the draws from the top are still looking pretty nice.
Well, when your hand wasn't very good, when you put it to the bottom, can only get better from there. And speaking of full tilt, I think Mike's going to be tilting this turn at least. Not really doing much yet again. Has that Clara. It's not really going to be beneficial. You got Quick Ball, the Irida can go grab you an Inteleon or another Drizzile, but that's just not really doing much for you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike in a tough position, thanks to those energies being prized. Being
unable to use any of the other, like, extra game plans that this list is capable of, especially when it's in such a tight spot, is just so detrimental for Mike. Finds the Radiant Charizard, but, you know, with only 2 prizes taken from Andrew, it's not the right time yet. Putting this in the hand now means that another Marnie could just put it right back in. It's very difficult to find the time for Radiant Charizard to come through when you are so far behind. Getting it preemptively is just Mike doing something for the sake of being able to play the cards in the hand. You know what I mean? To just thin through and look for some other options, or at the very least, look for the tools that can help him brace for impact here.
There was a way Mike was able to get that Radiant Charizard powered up this turn with Raihan and then searching out that Twin Energy, but no way to get out of the active spot. So you see here, these Irida and Shady Dealings getting a lot of scoop-up nets. So you can get out of there and attack with the Radiant Charizard next turn.
If Radiant Charizard can swing in, maybe break, jailbreak some of those energies from the prize cards, get those in hand, then we can begin pivoting to a lot of other options. It's not just Charizard suddenly coming through and 1v6ing, 1v5ing here. It's you want the threat of Charizard and Aqua Bullet, those other attacks working in tandem to soften up targets, to take 2 prizes in 1 turn, that sort of idea. And Mike is struggling right now to basically unlock the other half of his deck.
Listen, I said Mike was going to have a slow start, but this is definitely a little slower than I thought.
After the cut, Mysterious Tail finds the Choice Belt. The pieces are all being gathered up, right? The Charizard in his hand, the Choice Belt, the Fire Energy now in the discard pile, the Raihan also being a threat. We've even got the Rare Candy. It's all there, but we need those energies.
Yeah, the Drizzile ended up finding the Choice Belt. The Mysterious Tail finds that scoop-up net. And, yeah, we're most likely just going to see a pass of the turn from Mike here. Does have everything built up in hand, sees that Andrew played that Marnie last turn. Maybe you're not going to have another hand disruption, and here we go.
When you are, building up all these pieces, Andrew sees it's all face up. It's all very telegraphed. And so now Andrew has the option to say, well, I can just jump through some hoops, get another Marnie, get some other disruption, or do I feel I can now withstand the Charizard? Now that I've got my second Origin Form Palkia in play with an energy attachment, can I just start taking more knockouts here? I've seen these Radiant Charizard decks look like all hope is lost, and then suddenly the opponent runs out of attackers and isn't able to get set up, but there is a scoop out of nowhere. Mike recognizes, yeah, the second Marnie's probably going to come. I don't have the resources to find these combination pieces back once again, and we're just going to try and shuffle and go again. The list was just unfortunately too slow out of the gate. I think that if the prizes are just a little bit better for Mike there in the first game, it looks entirely different. So hopefully here in game 2, Mike can show us a little bit more of what this Radiant Charizard box is capable of.
Yeah, that was definitely rough for Mike there, but Andrew sticking to his guns, pulling out that win the way Origin Form Palkia V-Star only knows how, by attacking.
When you know what your opponent is up to and you have all the time in the world to just get set up, it's just a matter of execution. And you already talked about it, Jeremy. The Palkia decks are all about sequencing and playing smoothly. Andrew very well oriented on this deck, knows what to do, and just got the standard setup. And especially having those extra turns in order to do so means that you aren't under that mental stress as well if you don't hit your battle VIP pass, or you whiff after a Marnie, or your Irida's prize, your Radiant Greninja's prize. Even those missing pieces, you have so much time to recover from even the clunkiest of starts.
Let's go ahead and take a look at these players' prizes. Nothing too bad for Andrew there.
Yeah, the Irida in the prizes is a bit rough, but no dice. The Manaphy being prized is bad for Mike. Now the Moonlit Shuriken is going to be an omnipresent threat.
We need to find that Hisuian Heavy Ball right away.
Fortunately, with Snorlax in the active, Mike is going to get access to that Gorman dies, hopefully 1 or 2 more times than he was able to in game number 1 before it just immediately got boss KO'd. But for now, just opening up at the level ball, checking the deck, can see now that there's actually energy in there.
We can work with this. We can work with this.
Is there like Hisuian Energy Ball? Like, is there any sort of card that we can put in to fix those bricks?
Give him ideas. Give him ideas. Keep going. Keep going.
We need some new energy balls, please. Thank you very much. But now look at this already. The setup is looking a lot smoother, a lot more explosive for Mike. has the Gorman dies back up to 7 cards, and now it's over to Andrew. Is not going to be aware just yet that the Mana Fee is missing, but at the very least, Battle VIP Pass turn 1 means you get the perfect combo, you know, Radiant Greninja right there.
I thought you were going to say the perfect combo is starting turn 1 with Battle VIP Pass, because that is a perfect combo. Like, that's what that card does. That's what you put it in the deck for.
I remember when Origin Form Palkia was like kind of first coming onto the scene, players were like, 4 Battle VIP Pass, kind of greedy, isn't it? Maybe I just run 1, maybe I just run 2. And it's like, no, 4 all the way. The ability for this card to become Radiant Greninja, Capacious Bucket, into et cetera, you know, even Irida being able to find the Battle VIP Pass when you're going second, it all just works together so elegantly.
Yeah, if Andrew has an Irida, can grab another Battle VIP Pass and get this turn even better than it was.
So Radiant Greninja is indeed the Pokemon of choice, along with the Sobble. Andrew, now with the Radiant Greninja, you're going to set this up no matter what because of the Concealed Cards ability, but once Mike, you know, takes a turn or two of not developing Mana Fee, that's going to give Andrew the green light to immediately set up that Moonlit Shuriken. We'll see how aggressively he can discard these water energies to set up for the Star Portal.
Think debating if you want to discard the energy or attach it.
This is a big fork in the road for sure.
I still go back and forth at times, just if I want to do it or not, and
attach
and
on there. Marnie. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go for the Marnie. Hopefully we'll draw into another energy. We can have it both ways here. And then just attaching to the Palkia V is a nice, you know, hedge. We've seen a lot of Origin Form decks have these abysmal starts where they just rule the region, you know, to get a stadium or something. But the Marnie does find another Battle VIP Pass.
Does find the pass, but no water energy or bucket in sight. And honestly, the way this hand is shaping out, does have an Ultra Ball, so we'll be able to find a Drizzile, get things going next turn.
Sure,
but
you're just lucky getting your 1-up.
Yeah, it is going to be unfortunately not as explosive as Andrew was hoping, but I think that if we play out that turn like 100 times, this is the one that does. It is correct, I think, more often than not to attach and then Marnie rather than going for the initial discard to draw 2.
Eyeing down the cards to grab now. It's looking like a Sobble, probably another Sobble.
Yeah, having the double Sobble is great. This is the exact same bench setup we saw in the first game, and Andrew already knows, this is what I need to do. My opponent is going to let me do this at my own pace, at my leisure, so I'm just going to get it set up here, especially with Radiant Greninja. Needs to find a Capacious Bucket, hopefully next turn, right? We want the Drizzile to come through, Capacious Bucket, Concealed Cards, and Mike doesn't have the ability to punish the Radiant Greninja. There's not going to be any like boss KOs, especially with no turn 1 attachment on the Sobble, no cheeky Rare Candy Aqua Bullets coming through.
That is a full bench here, and we're going to rule the region. Search your deck for a Stadium card. Probably going to find that Path to the Peak. It does shut off that Radiant Charizard, but that's really going to be the only thing you're shutting off in Mike's deck. Does find the Training Court instead.
Training Court. I like this idea. You know that Mike only is playing very few energy, as we saw. The ones that are coming back from the discard pile aren't really going to assist him that much. And with the Training Court, Andrew is just going to start cycling water energy after water energy, and it's going to be amazing. This is what you want to see. You know that you can put a stadium in play that your opponent can't really use as well as you. There's just no danger there. But Mike opening up with Irida, hopefully finds the heavy ball as well.
Yes, Mana Fee.
Is going to able to rescue that Mana Fee. Because Andrew had a little bit of a slower start, didn't discard a ton of water energies, the Moonlit Shuriken was never a threat, but Mike is able to find the Hisuian Heavy Ball in time before that attack does come through as the ultimate punish here.
Hey, you never know. It can get charged up in one turn quickly. Bucket, Concealed Cards into another bucket, maybe Ultra Ball. Happens fast.
But Mike, again, just dodging a bullet here. No Moonlit Shurikens coming through, finds the Manaphy, also is able to take notes.
Dodging a Shuriken.
Yeah, dodges the Shuriken, and is able to take notes on the prizes here, and now is going to be able to be that much more prepared for these upcoming turns. Drizzile comes through and is looking for...
It's looking like an energy search for that water energy. Get things going for an Aqua Bullet maybe in the next turn.
Yeah, so Aqua Bullet being on the table now was the missing piece in game number 1 for Mike. You're able to get some chip damage, set up for Radiant Charizard to have some easier KOs. Having the Aqua Bullet deal 120 is fantastic for, sniping down the Radiant Greninja, getting a little bit of chip damage onto a Sobble or a Palkia V, for example. Just make it that much easier for Charizard to come through.
And with that Gormandize, Mike's hand gets a little bit bigger. And Andrew's turn starts off with, looks like an Ultra Ball, yeah.
Yeah, Ultra Ball. Maybe we can see a Drizzile into Capacious Bucket. I don't think the Drizzile is there, though. But if we can Ultra Ball into it, get that evolution, Capacious Bucket, as you said, Jeremy, getting all that energy suddenly discarded, who knows if we're going to chase down this Manaphy or not, or if Andrew is going to opt to just play it slow as he did in the first game. Still 20 minutes left on the clock, and when you're up 1-0, you're definitely just going to take your time, right? You don't want to get too overexcited to try to close out for a 2-0. You still have to make sure that you are sequencing correctly. One mistake can allow a Radiant Charizard deck, one that's designed to come roaring up from behind, to run away with the game when you least expect it.
And Andrew doing everything perfectly here. You get that Drizzile for the Irida. Irida for a water Pokemon and an item. The water Pokemon most likely going to be that Origin form Palkia V-Star. And then with that Capacious Bucket, you can draw some extra cards, get things going, attack for the turn. It's always pretty good to do.
Beautiful. And of course, Mike, it has the bench filled up. It doesn't really matter how much damage Origin form Palkia V-Star is doing at this point. It's just going to one-hit knock out everything across the table. But Radiant Greninja is now a threat, right? If this Manaphy goes down, Mike might be forced to start using the Ordinary Rods, the Rescue Carriers, to keep getting it back, when normally you want to use those resources to keep cycling your Radiant Charizard. And this becomes like a really nasty fork to be on the other side of.
Yeah, those two cards, off concealed cards, were probably some of the worst cards in the deck for Andrew right now. Choice Belt, Quick Ball, not really going to do much for him here at this moment, but two Origin Form Palkia V-Stars hit the board, and with that, takes the knockout. So now the clock is starting to turn for that Radiant Charizard. Just a few more knockouts, and we can start seeing it do its thing.
The clock is ticking for both players here. Andrew knows with every knockout, things get a little bit closer to those devastating Charizard plays, something like a Roxanne. But again, the boss's orders, the evolution into the Shady Dealings Inteleon. We've got the two energy attached, so now Aqua Bullet is on the table for Mike to get a couple prizes here.
Andrew's like, oh, I didn't know your deck did that.
The rare candy, like even outside of these Radiant Charizard decks, has been a fantastic tech, I believe originating in Japan, being able to just rare candy into the Inteleon so that it gets you like your two cross switchers, for example, to have these really aggressive plays. It has been something that a lot of players have favored, and for this list to be able to do it, to include that package so naturally into its game plan, really bolsters that power even further.
And it's looking like Mike is going to finish off the turn with an Aqua Bullet here, is going to try to set up a few more plays for the next couple turns. You see that Evolution Incense in hand to go along with cards like Tool Scrapper and Rescue Carrier, some cards you don't really see too often in a lot of decks this format, but Mike really pulling out all the stops in this Radiant Charizard toolbox.
Yep, had to decide where that 20 damage was going to go onto the unenergized Palkia. And now with the threat of, Scoop Up Net, recycling this Inteleon, getting even more cards out of the list, the threat of Aqua Bullet, Andrew has to just respond. Sends up the Palkia that has the energy on it so he can get the knockout on this Inteleon, get that threat out of the way, and then suddenly Mike has an ability to perhaps crack back against this Pokemon V. Training Court as well. We saw Andrew pick that up much earlier. and now this is going to be a way to just get those water energy back out of the discard pile, send them right back in with the concealed cards ability if need be, just draw even more cards. When your setup is complete, you don't need it as much, but who doesn't like to draw cards? I'm going to go for the quick ball first.
Hey, when you have a stadium that says draw 2 cards, I'd play that every time.
That's basically what it does at this point, and you love to see it. Once you get your engine up and running, you have so much more freedom. We've seen, especially these Sobble engine decks, they become over-reliant on them, and so then the Jolteon memory capsule is like really shutting you down, or if your opponent's able to chase down your Sobbles before you can get use out of them, it really slows you down. But having the Training Court Radiant Greninja, the Crobat V, you have a way to work yourself out of these awkward hands.
It's looking like Andrew is going to try to do just that, really just building out this board. You're going to be able to take the knockout on the active Inteleon and go down to 4 prizes. That's going to be 2 energy less for that Radiant Charizard whenever it comes out. And off the concealed cards, got a couple items. Those choice belts are really just sticking around.
And then, yep, draws into a Capacious Bucket, finds more energy. I like that, again, Andrew is able to play this deck with a lot more finesse and also, again, a lot more freedom than you normally would be able to. Being able to just manually attach to the Palkias rather than having to use Star Portal to go for an aggressive tempo swing sort of use of that ability. So now it's always going to be a nice comeback mechanism of your own. Once Radiant Charizard comes roaring through, if your next attacker isn't properly set up, as long as you have access to that Star Portal, you can always respond in kind.
And Andrew, the whole turn, has been eyeing down this play of getting Marnie back in the deck thanks to Palpad. Even used the Shady Dealings to search for that Palpad, scoop up net to evolve yet again and get that Marnie, just wanting to disrupt Mike's hand. Like you said, the way this toolbox deck plays is all face up. So you're going to know when your opponent has everything in their hand that they need, and Mike had everything in that hand.
Now it's back to the bottom of the deck, and Mike has to start from scratch. Hopefully, you know, this single prize deck can slow Andrew down enough that you can reassemble this combo. But we saw it in game number 1. The hand got Marnied, and Mike knew that I'm not going to be able to reassemble my combo pieces fast enough for it to matter. And with Andrew also not just swinging away wildly at Mike's board to activate that Radiant Charizard, you are just preemptively set up to counter that once it becomes an issue. And with, you know, with the Training Court and Radiant Greninja set up, and Crobat V in hand, once Roxanne does come through, you have a lot of resiliency against that play potentially.
There is the knockout down to 4 prizes, and with Mike's hand, actually pretty good 4 cards to draw. It's that Evolution Incense, you can grab an Inteleon. You have a Scoop Up Net, so you can pick this Inteleon up. And you got the Choice Belt Fire Energy, so really just a lot of things that you could use to do a lot of to build up this attack this turn, but we'll have to see if it's enough. You get basically 3 trainer cards.
And from this position, I think Mike is basically going to need to try to get the Radiant Charizard set up as quickly as possible. As you said, when you have the manual attachment of the fire energy, then you can have Raihan to get that second energy, and so the Excited Heart doesn't need to be fully powered up for an attack to still come through. And if you know that your opponent's going to be taking single prize knockouts over and over, if you force them to keep knocking out your Charizard rather than chasing down the Manaphy, rather than chasing down the Inteleon, the presence of Charizard essentially amplifies the threat of the rest of your board.
These are such a great 2 cards from Mike here. Gets that Raihan rare. Be able to get that Inteleon in play yet again this turn, but oh no, just quick balls it away.
So by not wanting the rare candy for the Inteleon again,
must have everything else.
Yeah, everything must already be gathered. Radiant Charizard is Raihan finding the twin energy here, and with the Choice Bell and Scoop Up Net to switch it into the active, the combo has come through, and so here comes Radiant Charizard.
Listen, you have that fire left in hand. It could just be a rare candy, but This turn has been insane for Mike here. Has the knockout on the active already, so now you're just preparing for next turn with this Shady Dealings.
Yep, Combustion Blast, 250 damage boosted with the Choice Belt. Can take down the Origin form Palkia. 2 prizes will be going over to Mike. And now with the Shady Dealings and Inteleon in the hand, you now have the natural evolution into the Drizzile to find, you know, the Rescue Carrier, the Ordinary Rods, etc., to get that energy and the Charizard back into the deck, fish them out, and get that combo going once again. These lists, having to repeatedly combo over and over again, becomes much harder to do as the game progresses, but this is where the best pilots are really going to shine. When you think that they aren't going to be able to pull off the combo and they manage to do it anyway, that is certainly the beauty of a list like this. So there's the 2 prizes going over to Mike. Now Magma Basin being part of the equation.
Such a great turn for Mike there. Thanks to that Excited Heart ability off of that Radiant Charizard, being able to get that attack off, and now Andrew is going to be able to knock out the Radiant Charizard. It's weak to water. It only has 160 HP. You're not really worried about that. You're worried about, can Mike do this again next turn?
If he does, it can get really dicey for Andrew. We want to see, hopefully, another Origin Form Palkia V set onto the bench. That way you can get the evolution into the V-Star and then Star Portal to immediately get it set up to attack. Once the Charizard becomes an active threat in the game, Mike immediately takes control of the pacing. You're forcing Andrew to also be able to consistently put together these attacking combos to now keep up with your aggression.
Big Charm a little late to the party here. Andrew really needed that on that other Palkia V-Star. The 20 damage here is going to be a little easier to take the knockout. Also, you have cards like Tool Scrapper to get rid of it for Mike's side of things. And with Andrew here, he's just going to need to try to cobble together another Palkia, or another attacker at least.
If this Palkia goes down and you don't have another one, you don't even have access to Star Portal to threaten Moonlight Shuriken to maybe get a couple prizes and still keep up your momentum. The danger of falling behind is now beginning to grow for Andrew as he looks through the hand, looks through the deck, is trying to figure out exactly how to map this. The Big Charm, however, does force Mike to find that extra piece with the Tool Scrapper in order to get that one-hit knockout, and perhaps could buy him an extra turn.
I think we're going to be seeing the Star Portal here this turn eventually. Andrew, looking through, sees 3 water energies in the discard, which the Star Portal gets 3 water energies from the discard. So some easy math there. Does play the scoop up net, though. So we're going to see another Shady Dealings.
Drizzile coming through, still has to get a card to find a Palkia V. You need to have that repeated sequence of attackers available. But Andrew's actually eyeballing the Roxanne here, trying to disrupt Mike as much as possible. The Big Charm plus the Marnie means that Mike is really going to have to scramble to put together this next Radiant Charizard combo. And so Andrew is betting it all on the disruption here. Rather than having another attacker to take over for Palkia once it goes down, is going to just say, well, I'm going to stop my opponent from comboing altogether. We'll see if the Roxanne is able to do it.
It's looking like Ordinary Rod might be the card eyeing down. But no, just the Roxanne here. So, like you said, that disruption, getting rid of that Inteleon in the hand for Mike.
Right.
Putting him down to 2 cards. And then with this Radiant Charizard getting knocked out, is going to have to rely on Mew to find Inteleon to get this engine going again.
The round is winding down. Andrew wants to close this out for sure to make this a win and not a tie. Both players have decks that are very intricate regarding their sequencing and their abilities to search through with the Inteleon engine, and it's really riding on this next turn for Mike. Can you put together the Radiant Charizard combo from 2 cards in hand? Let's see what these are, Jeremy. Magma Basin and Energy Search, I think was that second card?
Yeah. It's halfway there.
Halfway there.
I guess.
And then all Andrew needs to do is just reach out and take this last prize card. The other piece is you have to consider is if I, knock out this Radiant Charizard, then I'm opening myself up to Roxanne. Is my current hand and board state good enough to withstand that?
And there's the Star Portal.
Goes for the preemptive Star Portal, knows that if this Origin Form Palkia V-Star does leave play, you aren't going to have access to that ability any longer. So this means Andrew does not have the Palkia V, is hoping that this Roxanne is going to absolutely carry. And there's the KO. Picks up a Leon. Not really relevant in this matchup, unfortunately. But now Mike promotes the Mew, draws return Evolution Incense.
What a draw from Mike there. That nets the Inteleon. And from there, you have shady dealings, and then now Mike's going to need to do a lot of thinking.
I saw it. I saw the look on his face, Jeremy. As soon as you do that Evolution Incense, the possibilities exploded. Goes for the Mysterious Tail first.
Another Evolution Incense.
Another Evolution Incense is another lifeline to put this combo together. It's not just what pieces am I missing, but what pieces do I need to get those pieces. Inteleon to get Rescue Carrier, to get the Charizard back. Oh my goodness, this is it. We just have to trust that Mike knows how to put this together. There's Evolution Incense for the Inteleon. Looking for the Clara now. So Clara going to be very important as well for getting Pokemon and energy back from the discard pile. And then you just got to fish them back out of the deck and into hand. It's almost coming together for Mike, but you've got to remember, it's not just Charizard and the energy that is needed here. We also need to find Tool Scrapper.
Tool Scrapper or that Galarian Zigzagoon Choice Belt. It's definitely a lot to ask for, but Inteleon gets you a lot of cards.
Yep.
So
yeah, the pieces are there. The sequence just needs to happen. There is, of course, Training Court. Andrew was enjoying using that selfishly for his own purposes, just recycling the concealed cards using that. But now Mike has the ability to use this Training Court to just grab that fire energy immediately. Excited Heart is such a powerful ability, but Andrew Estrada has only taken 3 prizes, so it's not fully online. We need to have that attachment and a manual attachment as well to fully power it up. But here comes the Clara as well. Grabs Inteleon.
Yeah, wants to leave the fire in the discard for Magma Basin here.
Ah.
And with that energy attachment for a turn, that means Charizard will be able to attack this turn.
The pieces are coming together. We just have to find the Tool Scrapper.
Yeah.
And there's the Inteleon to grab it. And then a way to get this Mew out of the active.
Well, you already got the Scoop Up Net in hand.
Good,
so
good.
You need the Tool Scrapper Choice Belt. But you're going to be able to get the Choice Belt off of the Scoop Up on an Inteleon Drizzile yet again.
So this sequence is running deep. Still 6 minutes left in the round. Mike Fouchet getting into position to take 2 more prize cards and go down to 1 prize remaining. And it's now Andrew Estrada left with potentially a Radiant Greninja only available as an attacker to take 2 prize cards, but then everything just goes back over to Mike Fouchet.
Last piece of the puzzle is being searched out right now. There's that Choice Belt, and with that, Mike will be able to take a knockout on the last Palkia V-Star on Andrew's side of the board. And like you said, only Radiant Greninja left to take those prizes. It does KO a Radiant Charizard thanks to that water weakness. But other than that, with that Manaphy protecting that bench, it's not really going to go far.
So the Manaphy still holding true. Mike Fouchet puts together all of the combo pieces, even after getting hit with that Roxanne. That Evolution Inset top deck completely brought that hand to life.
Yeah, did I say it was halfway there? I guess it was all the way, yeah. That hand was insane. Roxanne proving that it's not better than Marnie still, at least in my eyes.
At this level of play, the players just know how to draw that perfect card off of the Roxanne. I think we see that on stream like more often than not, where the Roxanne seems to fail. Your opponent gets that one card that brings that hand, just sets it on fire with the Excited Heart ability. Set your heart ablaze, take those prize cards. Mike Fouchet going to take us to a game 3 potentially with only 4 minutes left in the round.
Yeah, that was just insane turn for Mike. Searched out so many different things, and now Andrew's going to have to put in a lot of work. Is hoping to stick this path to the peak, make that Charizard shut off for the next turn. Maybe you get 2 attacks in. But you're going to need 3 knockouts for Andrew here to Mike's 1. And that's a lot of turns, especially with that Manaphy out.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing, too, is you only have the 1 turn. If you have to shut off the Radiant Charizard, there's the threat, again, of the Inteleon with Aqua Bullet. If the Moonlit Shuriken gets taken off of the table, Andrew is just completely out of attackers, essentially. And Mike Fouchet is going to have, potentially 3 turns to put together another combination to take just a single prize. Anything that is in play now for Andrew is a liability.
That is definitely true. There is a kind of cute play you can do with canceling Cologne to shut off the Manaphy if it's in the active. Where Andrew can net 2 prize cards that way, but then you leave the Radiant Charizard on the board, so you're going to need Path to the Peak to shut it off so where it can't attack. Hope that Mike doesn't have that replacement stadium. We'll have to see how that ends up, but that could be where Andrew's going for, especially with just 3 minutes left in this game.
When you're this close to, again, the difference between a victory and a tie here for Andrew, you're going to go for the option that's going to give you the highest chance of victory, especially if the round goes to time and you get those extra couple of turns to be able to work out the final parts of your nefarious plan to take the W. I think that Andrew is already zeroing in on that line of play.
Listen, there's the double cross switcher in hand. The canceling clone is in hand. We just need the path to the peak.
Path to the peak. A pivotal card that so many decks have relied on to bail them out of bad situations. Radiant Charizard goes back. Manaphy comes up into the active. Canceling Cologne turns off Wave Veil. So now the bench is vulnerable. Galarian Zigzagoon for 10 damage. Where's this ping going to go? And now, thanks to Origin Form Palkia V-Star passing the torch with Star Portal to Radiant Greninja, has the 3 energies available. Now drawing up to 6 cards with Dark Asset. One of these cards has to be Path to the Peak to complete it, and there it is!
What a draw here from Andrew. Has everything needed to try to make this game actually count for him.
Path to the Peak now turns off the Excited Heart ability of Radiant Charizard. Here comes Moonlit Shuriken to take 2 prizes. Now, can Mike knock this stadium out somehow?
You have to go with the Drizzile Sobble. You have to, because Drizzile is an automatic out to that Magma Basin. Mew can't search for it. You need to get out of the active anyway.
And what's the draw for Mike?
A Fire Energy. This is not it.
Is that it? You can attach to Manaphy, retreat. Mysterious Tail with the Mew only finds an item.
I think you have to attach to the Manaphy, retreat to the Inteleon. There's no way for the other Inteleon to take a knockout, but if Andrew has the 1 boss's orders in his hand, then that's game over. And there's the boss's orders in hand for Andrew.
The boss's orders is there. Andrew only needs to reveal this card to make sure that this game is over. As a 2-0 and not going to go to 2-3, finds a devastating combo to lock out Mike's ability to take this final prize card. Path to the Peak rearing its ugly head once again. Amazing stadium card, and Mike, even though he had the glorious top deck to get out of that Roxanne situation, isn't able to replicate that miracle. There is an escape rope in hand. Maybe bring up Crobat V to strand it.
Well, Andrew's going to be able to choose who he brings up, so that Inteleon's going to be in the active spot.
Opponent chooses on the escape rope. I'm just completely just racking my brain for any possibility at this point. But there is the escape rope. It seems to be the only option available for Mike, and time is ticking down. It looks like he is going to be turn 0. It's going to give Andrew a lot of time still to complete, the option of getting this final prize. 1 prize to 1 prize for both players here. Andrew has everything on the line. When you need these 19 match points to advance to day 2, you want the win. You don't want the tie.
With that rescue carrier too, He had the Drizzle, but there's the Water Energy Boss's orders. And with that, Andrew Estrada moves on to 5-0 here in Baltimore. And what a way to do it.
Using the Path to the Peak to turn off that Excited Heart ability when you know that your opponent is relying on just this singular attacker that's going to threaten your whole board. If you can find a way to counter that specifically, you are just safe. Absolutely safe. The canceling Cologne as a tech one-of just came through against the Manaphy. You saw that play, Jeremy, and so did Andrew, and he followed through. Beautiful sequencing from both players throughout that entire 2 games.
Yeah, that was just insane to watch. Unfortunate prizes for Mike game 1, but we saw there Andrew was well prepared and ready for this matchup in particular because, yeah, Manaphy's going to be everywhere. Might as well put that canceling Cologne in to get a few extra prizes when you can.
It makes a lot of sense. Manaphy has been the key, again, to hold back that tempo of Moonlit Shuriken, catches up a lot of some other, cheesy spread decks. And I think that Urshifu was, like, trying to pretend to threaten